Tonight, in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television, we discover the locality of Tinto. We are in the Manyu division of the southwest region of Cameroon, where there are no roads, no electricity. We discover the difficulties that local inhabitants are going through on daily basis. Also ahead, there was tension in Manfi between yesterday and the early hours of this morning. We equally bring to you updates on the happenings in the nation's capital as far as the November session of Parliament. The SDF senators that held a press conference yesterday denouncing the attitude of the government as far as the current Anglophone crisis is concerned. Those are headlines. We shall be right back. Stay with us. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television. Poor roads infrastructure in Tinto, that is a locality in Manyu, southwest region of Cameroon, is a major problem faced by local inhabitants who are unable to transport their farm produce to the markets. The locals are equally faced with the problem of lack of electricity. They were speaking during the council session that took place recently in Tinto. They indicated that it is as a result of the poor state of road that development is still a major hindrance to local inhabitants. Our reporter David Simimos was there. He tells us more in the following report.
With farming in sustainable crops such as plantains, cocoyams, and cocoa as cash crop, the people of Tinto subdivision in Manyu division in the southwest region have as major preoccupation roads to transport their farm product to the market, and most importantly, disenclaving the entire subdivision. Electricity equally is a serious issue, with on and off of power supply, and most villages still to have electricity. The mayor of Tinto Council is Chief Bate Epe Robert Oben.
Some people out there would think that, oh, you will now have the Kumamafi Road. You have no. Large part of my municipality is enclave, so roads, very, very important. Roads. Upper Banyang has 69 villages, and except from those that are along the Kumamafi Road and Bamenda Mafi Road, a bulk of our municipality is enclaved, which means that they don't have roads.
Mayor Chief Bate Epe preached that the social unrest should be brought to an end so as to allow the council meet with a target for 2018.
If there is general civil disobedience, there is unrest, people are displaced, vehicles are limited, circulation, therefore income is not flowing. We get a large part of the revenue from customs. The timber people, if their vehicles are threatened to be burned down and they cannot circulate, it means that they will not remove their timber. It means that the activity will be cut down. So I'm giving nobody any lesson. These are issues that you ought to understand.
The 2018 budget witnessed an increase of 102 million as against that of 2016. The session was presented at by the divisional officer for Tinto subdivision, Likumbe Nafongo Vincent, sitting in for the senior divisional officer for Manyu division.
We take you to the Iwili village, that is in Boya subdivision of the southwest region of Cameroon. As the Anglophone crisis persists, the village is still to be linked to the entire subdivision and Fako division of the southwest region. The locals are also complaining that the loan bridge, which they say was bringing linking the village to Boya or the entire Boya subdivision, has been destroyed and is yet to be constructed. The area is also lacking electricity. Derek Jato compiled the following report.
This is the lone bridge linking Ewili, a village in Boya subdivision. Those around here say the memory of a child that was swept away on this bridge when the child attempted to cross during a heavy downpour is still fresh in their minds. And this has been the cry of Chief Thomas Elingendoto Ekinde, the second of Ewili village.
We talk of foodstuff comes from this very village to the market, but we don't have a good road, a good motorable road, whereby people can transport their goods or their foodstuffs from farm to market.
Today, the village council members are meeting at the chief's palace, and development is the main item on the agenda. Ewili, a village that is still staggering to grow. The government has given the Ewili people hopes that one day the electrification project of their village will be total.
Since this village was created, it has never seen electricity.
And for that speedy development to come, Chief Thomas is calling all those who are having land in Ewili village to come and develop the land by constructing houses.
The reporting from the Southwest Regional Headquarters of Buea. Now, scores of residents in Kobikokwe are in Yaoundé 6 subdivision of the Central Region say that they are now living in fear and uncertainty after their houses may collapse in the coming days. It is as a result of ongoing project being carried out by a business person. Let's have the details in the following report. Kolbikok neighborhood, Yaoundé 6 subdivision in the Central Region of Cameroon. The lives of over 50 persons are in permanent danger. Their well-being is not the only issue at stake here. Preserving their home is also an uncertainty.
Personne ne dort. Les maisons bougent, les maisons se cachent.
Locals say that their sleeping hours have reduced ever since a captain who is owner of this land commenced works to erect a business structure. Dozens of houses are now at the verge of collapsing, but the project is still ongoing, unperturbed.
Il commence les travaux avec 18h, 19h jusqu'à 6h, 37h le matin.
The people took the matter to the DO for the Yaoundé 6 subdivision, who later convened a meeting between the residents of Kolbikok and the representatives of the captain in question.
C'est un préjudice qui crée à ces populations et même il a troublé l'ordre public.
The DO decried what he called injustice against the people and said that risking lives because an individual owns a piece of land is unacceptable.
Vous savez, c'est pas parce que vous avez acheté un terrain que vous devez mettre la vie des populations en péril.
He further instructed the landowner to provide another accommodation for the population.
J'ai demandé aussi à l'opérateur économique de recaser.
This part of Kolbikok is a risky zone which is unsafe for habitation. It is not the first time that locals are exposed to such danger. We take you back to the Southwest Regional Headquarters of Buea, where scientists have warned that tall buildings around Mount Cameroon risk being destroyed in the coming months, so use if there is violent earthquake. They equally said that the building code is not being respected in that part of Cameroon. The revelation was made during a meeting which took place recently. Derijato was there. He brought back the following report.
Planted on the foot of the Buea mountain, an active volcanic mountain, scientists are today advancing reasons why these tall structures might one day be destroyed during an eruption.
Buea doesn't have a building code, and that's something we've been discussing with the council, and that's something we are worried about, whereby the architects, the engineers, the soil engineers, geological engineers, to come up with what we call building codes, which will help everybody to build houses, tall houses which can withstand strong earthquakes.
Professor Azumbe Samuel, the University of Buea Dean of the Faculty of Science, presented calculated facts on the history of eruption of this Buea mountain.
On average, within the last 200 years, that's from 1800 to today, scientists have put together all the recorded eruptions, and they have come up with an average of about 15 to 16 years for every eruption.
And the last eruption occurred in 2000, that is 17 years ago.
We went to Bakingili and saw the lava after it had definitely cooled and even took pictures of our name.
Some inhabited areas have been carved to be on the mountain. and combined with the research result that eruption can occur anywhere on this mountain, the University of Buea Interdisciplinary Climate Change Laboratory has organized a workshop with local community leaders to map out ways on how to reduce the impact of natural hazard by eruption of Mount Cameroon on the population.
We now talk about the current Anglophone crisis, which was at the level of the national government, which ended the SDF press conference, which indicated that so far was and southwest regions of the country, and indicating that dialogue is the only way out of the current impasse. He was speaking, or Senator Jean Soumelo was speaking during the press conference which held yesterday in Yaoundé. Details in the following report. After the close of the November session of Parliament, the SDF MPs and senators converged on Yaoundé and presented the balance sheet of the last plenary sitting of the 2017 Legislative Year. In the press conference chaired by the SDF Senate Parliamentary Group leader, it was revealed that little attention has been accorded to the Anglophone problem raised by the party in Parliament, which shows how unaware the CPDM party and leaders are of the gravity of the current impasse.
Cette attitude hostile et arrogante des gouvernants a tout fait.
Senator Jean Soumelo described the stance of the government as hostile and arrogant, adding that this explains why the current Anglophone crisis has moved from bad to worst. In this press conference, the SDF MPs and senators attributed the radicalization of youths to failure by government to engage in meaningful dialogue. Honorable Jean Soumelo added that the government of Cameroon has never held genuine talks with the lawyers, the teachers, and the population.
Le SDF, dont le slogan est « Pouvoir au peuple », entend plus que jamais se mettre du côté du peuple pour défendre.
The party further reassured that the SDF stands with the people and that the party would not take advantage of the current crisis rocking the northwest and the southwest regions to gain lost political grounds as popular opinion holds. And that was the situation at the level of the National Assembly. Now, there was a gun battle reported in Manfi, that is in the southwest region of the country, between yesterday night and the early hours of this morning. We equally had information that at least 2 persons were severely injured. The gunshots were heard for several hours by local inhabitants. Those are rather images of the members of the Central African Human Rights Defenders Network, REDAC, that were presenting the situation of human rights in Cameroon in a report that was published in Yaoundé a few days ago. Members of REDAC observed that the fundamental rights of Cameroonians are not being respected since 2013. They cited the Boko Haram atrocities in the far north region and the current crisis rocking the northwest and the southwest regions of the country. On the Anglophone problem, REDAC cited internet shutdown, brutality on civilians and disruption of public manifestations as proof of gross human rights violation. REDAC equally criticized Article 2 of the anti-terrorism law in Cameroon and said that the law is being used to suppress the English-speaking population in Cameroon. That explains why, according to REDAC, several youths are currently behind bars. And Patrice Ngana is now being detained at the Kondengi maximum prison. That is the latest information as far as his case is concerned. He was detained last night after the prosecutor at the Mfundi High Court said that he was caught flagrante delito. He is under pre-trial detention at the Kondengi maximum prison and is going to make his first appearance in court. That is going to be at the Mfundi High Court tomorrow, Friday, the 15th of December 2017. Patrice Ngana, it should be noted, his lawyers have so far decried what they call injustice, calling for his immediate and unconditional release. He's having several charges. He's been tried with threats to president's life, illegal immigration, and for forgery. One of the charges concerning the insults to the personality of this head of state was simply dropped. That was a few days ago. We take you now to Ndiang, west in the southwest region of Cameroon, where people of Bakassi Peninsula have led to the use, or they have been led to the use of provision in place, or they equally took part in the ceremony that was aimed at valorizing aquaculture in that part of the country. The ceremony that was chaired by the Senior Divisional Officer for Ndiang Division in the Southwest region of Cameroon. We take you to that ceremony that took place in Ndiang in the following report with Davis and Maimo.
From fresh to smoked fish of all varieties and species, all displayed by the fishing population of the Bakassi Peninsula in Ndiang Division. The yearly fish festival event is aimed at not just portraying the occupation of the people, but equally serve as a platform to educate, sensitize all fishing communities within Ndiang Division on sustainable method of fishing, as explained by the representative of the Minister of Livestock, Fishery and Animal Industry, the Senior Divisional Officer for Ndiang.
To enable the people, stakeholders in the fishery sector, to showcase their talents, what they can do, and it is drawing of awareness of many people who did not know that the Bakassi Peninsula can be very useful in this country.
With more than 90% of the populace involved in fishing as an occupation, the worry of the government is that Cameroonians are still to know that Ndiang Division is the heart of fresh fish, as 80% of the catch is taken to Nigeria. It is in this regard that the government has put in place some mechanism to transport fresh and smoked fish to other parts of the country.
To make people know that some place is existing this way, where some of the best fish that you can get in Cameroon here.
The people of Ndiang Division as a whole, and that of Bakassi Peninsula in particular, express satisfaction in government effort in promoting and modernizing the fishing sector in this area. The Fish Festival, which was instituted some 4 years ago by the Minister of Livestock, Fishery and Animal Industry, equally witnessed a canoe race in which a Sangale emerged as 2017 champions.
Davis Maimo there reporting on the fishing festival that took place in Ndiang Division of the Southwest region of Cameroon. The people that were simply told to use the provision put at their disposal by the Ministry of Livestock, Fisheries and Animal Industry to boost the fishing sector. Now we are going to be having the reaction of local inhabitants, especially those of the Bakassi Peninsula, who say that the fish festival would greatly improve on their income, thereby improving their living standard. Let's hear them in the following excerpt.
We gain from having knowledge on how to preserve fish and how to do our fishing successfully.
It is educative, very interesting, animating. I've seen how people are enthusiastic to take advantage of what government has made available. For example, this is meant for fishermen. The reason why we are holding it here, so that we see what government has put in place to prepare the minds of people to take advantage of this good fishing.
It's very important because we bring all various types of fish.
Corruption allegations are practically overwhelming the South African president. We are news out of Cameroon, Jacob Zuma. He lost 2 corruption-linked court cases. That was yesterday. Our reporter Babla Jonathan tells us more in the following story.
A double blow to South Africa's president Jacob Zuma. 2 court cases lost on the same day. The 2 cases are linked to corruption allegations that have tarnished his 10 years in power. Pretoria's High Court described President Zuma as seriously reckless for challenging recommendations by a watchdog in a case against him. In the first case, the court gave him 30 days to appoint an inquiry into allegations of corruption against him and his associates. The inquiry was one of the recommendations on state influence peddling by the country's anti-corruption watchdog, which the president tried to challenge. Judge President Dunstan Lambo described Mr. Zuma's attempt to challenge the ruling as ill-advised and an abuse of the judicial process.
In the second case, the same judge ruled that Jacob Zuma had been unreasonable in trying to use the courts to block the publication of an explosive official report into high-level corruption known as state capture. George Lambo ordered the president to pay all legal costs out of his own pocket, an unprecedented judgment against a president in office. Jacob Zuma has been accused of conspiring with a wealthy business family, the Guptas, to control lucrative state contracts. Jacob Zuma and the Guptas have denied any wrongdoing. He is also facing allegations that he has been using his close links to the family to influence the appointment of key ministers. In 2005, Jacob Zuma was charged with corruption over the multi-billion-dollar 1999 arms deal. The charges were dropped shortly before he became president in 2009. And in 2016, the court ordered he should be charged with corruption over the deal he had appealed. In the same year, a court ruling said he had breached his oath of office by using government money to upgrade his private home in Kanla. He repaid the money. Away from his office as President of the Republic of South Africa, Jacob Zuma was charged with raping a family friend. He was acquitted in 2006.
And how opposition in South Africa reacting to the corruption scandal rocking the Zuma presidency. Leader of South Africa's opposition Democratic Alliance, the DA political party, has indicated that the judgment has so far praised the judgment against President Jacob Zuma. Let's hear him in the following excerpt.
It's a very important judgment. We welcome the judgment. And it expresses clearly that Jacob Zuma is an unreasonable litigant. In our view, he's a delinquent litigant. He's a litigant who is trying to protect himself against criminal action. He's a litigant that wastes taxpayers' money. He's a litigant who ultimately shows that he's unfit to be president of the Republic. So, other than accepting the fact that if there is a report that must have been tabled, he should have allowed it to go ahead. And instead, the judgment charging him for perjury, Zuma, because he mislead, and we are of the view Zuma must application, and therefore he keeps talking open for a judicial court. He uses the issue. For the Jacob Zuma is to in fact he's compromised in this matter and player. So
we continue with the state's economic capital, Douala, despite promises met by the government delegate to the Douala City Council to keep the city clean. It should be noted that garbage heaps are still found everywhere and the garbage collectors rarely doing their job. Others blame the government delegate for the poor insanitary state of the city, whereas other points or fingers are pointing at the entire population. Innocent Aze thought through the economic capital. He brought back the following report.
Welcome to the city of Douala, a town where garbage production continuously surmounts the ability of authorities in charge of garbage collection and keeping of the city neat. Proof: the littering of rubbish everywhere in the city. The heaps of garbage, according to the population, intoxicates the town with unpleasant smell and provoke illnesses. Food intoxication is inclusive. A fruit vendor says others, unlike her, have already adapted to the stinking nature of the city. Away from the heart of the city, surrounding vicinities records the worst garbage disposal, which gets rotten, and yet waste collectors are rarely seen around. A situation which has aroused the population's impression they are neglected by the government's delegates. Other persons do not hold the Douala City Council authorities accountable for the insanitary state of the city. They lay the blame on the incivility of city dwellers or the population for dumping garbage just everywhere, believing Isakam will pick them up. Notice boards restricting waste disposal on the ground on particular spots are ignored by the population. Garbage cans are not used by most persons. Others say they are insufficient, reason why waste is disposed on the ground and fire lit on them when the available trash cans or bins are full. Not only heaps of waste are found at every angle of the city of Douala. Shockingly, wild bushes are nursed, now exploited at night by crooks to carry out aggressions and other criminal activities. Reasons why the city has been allowed to go nasty and wild is yet unknown, as Isakam authorities have so far remained quiet on questions surrounding the issue. Promises made to cure the city of Douala from, according to commentators who say, doubt the state of marriage between the Douala City Council and Isakam, the garbage collection company.
Innocent Aze, they're presenting the picture in some parts of the country's economic capital. As we said earlier, there was gun battle between elements of the National Armed Forces and some yet to be identified individuals in Manfi, Manyu division of the southwest region of Cameroon. At least 2 persons were shot and they are currently receiving treatment in hospital. The exact number of casualties, we are still to get the exact number of those who were injured as a result of the incident. Youths who were at school equally regained their respective homes. Some stayed indoors and others had to take refuge to bushes. The flying helicopter or military helicopters were equally reported. It is still a very tense atmosphere in Manfi, Manyu division of the southwest region of Cameroon, and we of course will be keeping you updated as soon as we are informed. That brings us to the end of this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Équinoxe Television. We thank you so much, televiewers, for joining us. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.